There's a man in a parking lot. He's not doing anything unusual, but today, every crow in a 40-meter radius turns to track him, and then they start screaming. He crossed this lot 6 months ago wearing the same face. That was enough. The obvious explanation is territorial instinct. The bird sees a threat. It reacts. Random. Reflex. But that explanation doesn't hold, because the crow isn't reacting to his clothes, his size, or his movement. It's reacting to his face, specifically, individually. And once I started pulling on that thread, how a bird does that and what it means, the simple answer disappeared. What I found starts with a researcher at the University of Washington named John Marzluff, who designed an experiment that made this impossible to explain away. He put on a caveman mask. Then he went out and trapped wild crows. He caught wild crows, banded them, and released them. The whole process took a few minutes per bird. One event. One face. Then he came back later. Different clothes, different people wearing the same mask, different locations. And the birds that had been trapped immediately scolded and mobbed whoever was wearing that face. The control mask, a neutral, human face, got no reaction from the same birds. They weren't reacting to humans as a category. They were reacting to that face. At first, I thought the body language or clothing must be the signal. But they controlled for that. Different researchers, different body types, same mask. The face was the variable. The face was the only thing that mattered. The study ran for 5 years. They returned periodically. Same mask, different walks, different locations across campus. And the reaction didn't fade. The birds that had been trapped didn't slowly stop reacting the way you'd expect a conditioned response to extinguish. They remembered, year after year. Here's where the case stopped being about one bird and one researcher. By year 3, 66% of the crows encountered along the survey route were scolding the dangerous mask, but only a fraction of those birds had ever been trapped. The rest had never interacted with the researcher at all. They learned the face by watching other crows react to it. One crow mobs the dangerous face, another crow nearby watches and files it. Both crows now know. The knowledge spreads without direct contact. That bothered me, because it means the face data doesn't stay private. It enters the social network of the flock. To understand what the crow actually perceives when it looks at a human face, you need to think about how its visual system works. Crows have sharp visual acuity, in some respects sharper than most mammals at equivalent distances, and they process faces as patterns of features, not just silhouettes, not just movement, the same way you do. There's a detail I didn't expect. Crows also respond differently based on whether a human's gaze is directed at them. Studies have shown they increase their flight initiation distance, how close they let a threat approach before fleeing, when the human is looking directly at them versus looking away. They're reading attention. The face isn't just an identity tag, it's a live signal. Here's the question I kept returning to. Why does this level of precision exist? A crow living in an urban environment isn't occasionally near humans. It's surrounded by hundreds of them every day. If it avoided all humans, it would lose access to its easiest food sources. But without a way to distinguish which individual is dangerous, it would have to maintain a high alert posture around all of them. That's metabolically expensive. It wastes energy and time. The behavior looks like a grudge. It functions like a subscription to a threat identification service, constantly updated, socially distributed, and free to run. Precise face memory solves an ecological problem that blanket avoidance cannot. The brain built exactly what the environment required. The survival logic explains why this behavior exists, but it doesn't explain how it works mechanically inside the brain. And this is the part I didn't expect, because the researchers didn't just observe the behavior, they imaged the brain while it was happening. PET imaging, positron emission tomography, the same kind of brain scan used in human neuroscience research. Awake, alert crows were exposed to two faces, the threatening mask and a caring face, worn by a researcher who had fed them in captivity. A third condition, empty room, no face, control. The threatening face activated a region of the crow brain that corresponds structurally to the human amygdala, the part of your brain responsible for processing fear, threat conditioning, and emotional memory consolidation. The caring face activated reward pathways. The empty room activated almost nothing. The crow's brain was responding to faces the same way a human brain responds to faces it's been conditioned to fear or trust. Here's what that means structurally. The crow has no neocortex, the folded outer layer of the brain that mammals use for complex cognition, planning, and memory. No cortex at all. What it has instead is a Nidopallium, A dense neural structure that does the same computational job through completely different architecture. More neurons per cubic millimeter than most mammalian cortex regions. The brain is not a smaller version of yours. It's a different machine, running the same software. Now that the mechanism is clear, once I understood what was happening at the structural level, the behavioral examples stopped being impressive and started being logical. Let me show you 3 of them, because each one adds a layer the brain explanation alone doesn't cover. Case A. The fledglings. Adult crows that had been trapped were observed mobbing the dangerous mask in front of their young. Fledgling crows, birds born after the original trapping events, were then seen scolding the mask independently, without their parents present, without ever having been near the researcher. The experience had happened to their parents. The threat data was inherited, not genetically, behaviorally. Case B. The returning researcher. Years after the original trapping, study researchers returned to the same campus locations wearing completely different clothing. The crows still reacted to the mask. Different jacket, different hat. 5 years of change between encounters, and the face was still the override signal. They weren't tracking the clothes. They never were. Case C. The other direction, because this system doesn't only record threats. The caring face in the brain imaging study activated reward pathways, not fear. People who consistently feed crows, who behave non-threateningly over time, have been observed having crows land at close range and remain near them for extended periods. Scientists are cautious about calling any objects left nearby gifts. Intention is genuinely hard to verify. What isn't hard to verify is the behavior pattern. The crow maintains a positive profile for certain individuals, and those individuals receive preferential access. The database runs in both directions: threat, safe, and it's been updating since the first time it saw your face. So here is where the case lands. The behavior looks like memory, and it is. But what it's doing, functionally, is more specific. The crow is building and maintaining a social reputation database of specific individuals in its territory, threat-tagged or safe-tagged by face. That database is distributed to the flock through alarm behavior. It's passed to offspring through behavioral conditioning. The database doesn't die when the original bird dies. It propagates. The strange part isn't that crows can do this. The strange part is what it took to confirm it. Peer-reviewed brain imaging, a 5-year field study, PET scans of alert birds responding to specific human faces. We needed all of that to verify something the crows were doing automatically, continuously, every day, in every parking lot and campus and neighborhood where they've decided to live alongside you. The behavior looks random. It isn't. The behavior looks like a grudge. It isn't. It's the only logical solution to living inside a human city, built in a brain the size of a walnut, running on architecture we didn't think was capable of it. The crow doesn't know it's doing something remarkable. It's solving a problem. Who to trust, who to avoid, and how to remember the difference without wasting energy relearning it every day. What makes this unusual isn't the memory, it's the precision, the distribution, the inheritance. The crow doesn't just have a long memory, it has a network. Every crow you walk past in a city has already run that analysis. The verdict is already in. There's a crow outside your window right now that's already decided whether you're safe. It made that call the first time it saw your face, and it hasn't changed its mind since. The only question is, what did you do to earn that verdict? This is Animal Behavior Detective. Every video is a case file. Subscribe if you want to keep investigating.